Hello again to another Agricultural React, and today we're watching the B1M and Europe's mega project to replace a Russian railway. And I do like rails and trains, so trains and rails. Yeah, so let's just jump into it and just see what's happening. And what country is it?
This is one of the biggest new rail projects in Europe, and it's set to plug a major gap in the continent's high-speed network. Over 800 kilometres long and running across 3 countries that have lacked a modern railway since the fall of the Soviet Union, it's a scheme that's throwing up some immense challenges. As one of the EU's transport priorities over the course of this decade, the pressure's on to get it right. With spectacular engineering, advanced technology and world-class design, this is how the Baltic states are using big infrastructure to put themselves firmly on the map. Now, if you're a regular follower of this channel, there's a very good chance you've heard of the Trans-European Transport Network. It's a massive scheme by the EU to connect member states with up-to-date infrastructure, mostly rail. The massive Fehmarn Belt Fixed Link, the Lyon-Turin Railway, the Brenner Base Tunnel, they're all a part of it, known for their enormous scale and for the countries involved. But now there's a new player rising in the east. Well, in fact, 3 new players, the Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. Together they make up a huge chunk of the North Sea Baltic corridor from Antwerp to Helsinki, one of the major priority routes on the network. And yet, the rail infrastructure of these nations is far behind that of their western neighbours, dating back to before the early 90s. Why? Well, because that's when the Soviet Union collapsed, which they were all once a part of. Left behind was a series of railways that run mostly east to west rather than north to south, meaning the 3 countries aren't that well connected. On top of that, they were built to a different standard and gauge to the rest of Europe, which isn't helpful when you're trying to join up the whole continent. So what are they going to do about it? Well, building one new big railway from scratch and calling it this: Rail Baltica, the largest infrastructure project in this region for 100 years.
Rail Baltica is a massive infrastructure project connecting 3 Baltic states and bringing significant changes to the region. And the project's primary object is to enhance regional connectivity, foster economical growth, and promote sustainable transportation.
It's an 870-kilometre high-speed railway from Tallinn in Estonia, running down to Lithuania, the Polish border, and eventually the rest of Europe. A trip between the capitals will take just over 3.5 hours. That's shorter than Gone with the Wind.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Well, you should, Clark Gable, because that is seriously quick. Both high-speed passenger trains, capable of 249 kilometres an hour, and freight trains running at about 120 kilometres an hour are going to use this line, and the entire route is being electrified. That'll help to lower CO2 emissions and reduce air pollution by more than 18% compared to other forms of transport. Since 2023, construction works have been ramping up, and as you can probably imagine, there's quite a lot happening.
The history of Rail Baltica goes back around 30 years ago, but today I can see that a large part of designs are in the final stage. So we are still doing designs in all 3 Baltic states, but also in parallel already a couple of years are going massive construction work.
To break it all down for you, let's go on a quick tour of the main sites from top to bottom, starting with what will be the northern end of the railway.
It all begins here in Ülemiste on the outskirts of Tallinn. This is where the spectacular new passenger terminal designed by Zaha Hadid Architects has now broken ground. Creating an international gateway to Estonia right next to the country's main airport, it'll act both as a multimodal transport hub and a public bridge. As well as rail, passengers are going to be offered seamless connections to bus and tram routes, and it's all being built using a modular approach. Excavation for the station building is now in progress, along with the foundations and supporting structures. It took longer than planned to dig up the old infrastructure. Elsewhere in Estonia, the construction of new crossings where cars, trains and wildlife will intersect has been the focus. That includes a 73-metre overpass, 4 viaducts over the future railway already open to traffic, and an eco-duct. What do we mean by that? Well, it's like a viaduct, obviously,
It's
but
fine,
the bit over the
though.
top is only going to be used by animals.
Yeah.
This one's made of 54 concrete arch elements, 25 tons in weight each, which are all connected together to form a tunnel. Further down in Latvia, where more than 200 bridges are being built, trains will either loop off to the capital Riga or carry on south towards Lithuania. It's in Riga where a lot of the action is happening right now, like the stunning new station which is already taking shape. When complete, it'll become the largest passenger service hub in the Baltics in terms of visitor numbers, with a total area of almost 13,000 square
But it
metres
looks amazing.
and a massive
Except those
glazed
people.
roof.
They're kinda
By late
weird, squarish.
2023, the bases of the 7 arches that'll cover the building were all in place and are now being joined together. Just a short distance away will be a new bridge over the Dogovar River. Trains will use it to get to the airports, and construction of that is now in the early stages. There's also loads of work happening at the airport itself. The Rail Baltica International Passenger Terminal will become the first high-speed rail and air traffic connection hub in the region. Progress on that so far has been mostly underground, on the foundations for the station building, and more than 500 piles that are going to support the platforms, going down over 30 metres. Digging below the surface, you don't always know what you're going to find, and that's certainly been the case in Sekula, where teams are preparing to build the main line. Technicians had to clear a former military site that was destroyed during World War II, scattering unexploded munitions all over the area. That's not ideal when you're trying to do geological surveys, like the next piece of infrastructure a few kilometres to the south. Here, a second new bridge over the Dogovar is being worked on, but this one will carry both trains and cars.
The train goes underneath, huh? That's cool.
Which will be in 2 floors. On the first floor will be high-speed train, on the second floor we'll have cars, and it's in Baltic states something new.
Now, before the teams can start building, they need to know more about the ground conditions under the river. That's why a floating platform was set up with a big drill, allowing experts to collect samples for testing. The results will allow engineers to work out how deep to make the foundations prior to assembling the bridge.
That's cool.
Staying with
That's
bridges,
really
to
good.
find the next big one on our journey, we need to cross the border into Lithuania, where the route will fork in 2 directions toward Vilnius and Kaunas.
With a total length of 392 kilometres, Lithuania has by far the greatest share of the line. And this bridge over the Neris River, more than 1,500 metres long, is definitely one of the highlights. A huge drilling machine is being used to install 376 piles. Once it's finished making each hole, a metal framework is inserted, followed by a concrete pour. It'll take 11,500 tons of reinforcement and 74,000 cubic metres of concrete to build it.
Finally, Lithuania's capital Vilnius is also getting a brand new station.
Nicknamed Green Connect, their idea was for an integrated hub that again doubles up as a bridge, surrounded by nature and open public spaces. It'll have a roof made from locally sourced timber, water gardens for processing rainwater, and the integration of a heritage building from the original station.
Cool.
So the big question, how much is this all going to cost, and
A lot, I
when's it
guess.
going to be ready? Well,
In, like,
the original estimates
sometime?
was around $6 billion with
original.
a 2030 completion date. Up to 85% of the money is coming from the EU, with the rest financed by the 3 Baltic states. But reports in Latvia say costs have now risen to about $8 billion. It's claimed there have been delays and uncertainties with some of those sites in Riga, which could see the line bypass the city altogether when it first opens. Then there's the sheer complexity of it all. Building a railway through one country is tough enough, but when it's crossing 3 of them, it becomes extremely challenging. Each state has its own separate body for the project, teams are having to collaborate closely across borders, and hundreds of contracts are currently active.
It's kind of challenging. Sometimes we are calling each other like 3 brothers, sometimes cousins, because not so close, as our legislations are different, languages are different, and even mentality is different.
But thanks to digital technology, multiple organisations have been working together seamlessly to get Rail Baltica up to speed. Based in Spain, EDAM is handling construction design and supervision for a large portion of the new line.
EDAM's role in the Rail Baltica project has been to be responsible for the design of 389 kilometers of the Baltic corridor. Our scope of works includes railway and road bridges, viaducts, including the longest bridge in the Baltic countries.
Using a number of applications from Bentley Systems, such as ProjectWise and Open Buildings Designer, EDAM established a connected data environment. This allowed teams to collaborate via 3D models and detect clashes during design.
The benefits of ProjectWise is that it allows us to have a legitimate source of information. This way everyone can have real-time access to this information, and also it's always up to date. So it gives less space for errors.
Despite not everything going to plan, having a system like this in place has certainly boosted the Baltic's chances of having a high-speed rail line up and running before the end of the decade. For years, the Baltic states have been crying out for a railway to match the rest of Europe, and the early signs are that it will have been worth the wait. Of course, it hasn't been straightforward. These projects never are, especially when there's so much at stake. But like so many of the other big infrastructure projects happening across the continent, the three main countries won't be the only ones set to gain. It's part of a much bigger picture, with a missing piece that's now being slotted into place. This video was sponsored by Bentley Systems. You can learn more about that at the link below. And as always guys, if you enjoyed this video and you want to get more from the definitive video channel for construction, make sure you're subscribed to the B1M.
Was that the last one, Tallinn? Alright, so that's really cool, again, and like I said, I love traveling in trains, and that would be something, if that's gonna be finished, hopefully this decade, that would be a great way for me to travel to Baltic states and sightsee them as well, because it's just cool, I think. Taking account that you have to spend more and more time before the actual flight time on the airport. So like, just jumping into the train and just going there, that would be great. But I kind of wonder now, because obviously they want to be connected to Europe, but what is Poland doing that? Because I do know there are definitely connections there. Rail Baltica in Poland. What does Poland do with that? Okay, let's see. Here we go. And there's one thingy here. So it goes to Białystok. Okay! Makes sense, I guess. Białystok have good connection with Warsaw. So they're just gonna go here. And then here. So, and then Warsaw have connection with Berlin and the rest of Europe. So, and then you can go to Krakow as well, down south. And then I think there's a connection from Krakow to Prague. Is there? No, there isn't. I'm rambling now here. Anyway, so yeah, so that's cool. So yeah, that would be. Oh wait, there's another. Oh yeah. Yeah, so that's as always really great information. Hopefully gonna work out soon, and they're working on it already. So wait, there's some kind of article here. Let's see. Lithuania and Poland need to finish Rail Baltica link by 2028. So what's going on here? So the projects for the onshore cable harmony link between Lithuania and Poland and the European standard gauge railway, Rail Baltica, will be interlinked, particularly on the Polish side. So it is important for Vilnius and Warsaw to ensure that the railway lines are connected by 2028, the Lithuanian minister says on Friday. And this is from when? 2023, December. Okay. Undoubtedly, these projects are interdependent, especially on the Polish side. Energy Minister Janis Kreivys told reporters after a meeting of the Lithuanian government's Commission for the Coordination of the Baltic Power Grid's synchronization with continental Europe. Transport Minister Mariusz Skudis said that 2028 is a key date for connecting the Lithuanian and Polish sections of the European gauge railway. An additional energy dimension emerges now. We are also focusing on 2028, which is what we discussed in the commission. So here it is just important to make sure that we are connected in that year. and not later. Okay, what gauge is Poland using now? That's a good question too. What rail gauge is Poland using? Because I'm not sure. Rail transport in Poland. Okay, yeah, that's what I mean. Come on, okay, same thing. So, most railways in Europe use the standard gauge of 4 feet, okay, and something inches. Okay, so let's go to this Wikipedia. Okay. Polish railway network consists of around 18,510 kilometers of track as of 2019, of which blah blah. Remember, okay. The gauge in passenger freight, total express speed, main, high speed. Yeah, okay, so 4 feet and 8.5 inches, so 1. Okay. So Poland is using the European one. That's kind of interesting, taking in account that we were under heavy Russian influence after the Second War. So, but then the most of our rail what you call it, system was actually built by Germany before First War, when Poland haven't existed. So I'm guessing that's why they decided to change for that. Links with adjacent countries: Ukraine, Europe in 2023, voltage of same gauge. Czech Republic, same voltage. Germany, Slovakia, Sweden by train ferry, proposed fixed links, one from Szczecin to Istad via Bornholm Island, the other from Gdynia to Karlskrona, both with blah blah blah, that I don't understand what I'm talking about. Break of gauge, Belarus, Lithuania. Okay, so short stretch. Here, I'll show you. So short stretch of dual gauge track terminating at Grodno, Lithuania, as part of the construction of Rail Baltica. A new standard gauge diesel line from there to Kaunas was built in October 2015. Russia, not electrified. There are short stretches of dual gauge sections around border area and Ukraine. Okay. There's an intercity map here as well. Intercity. It goes to Weber, really? Huh. Weber, it's a nice seaside town. Okay, so Gdynia, Gdańsk to Warsaw, Warsaw to Poznań, and then Rzepin go to Berlin. This is kind of like thing. I was trying to find connection with Szczecin with Berlin, but there actually isn't any. So you have to go either to Rzepin or go to Poznań and then jump into the train to Berlin. Well, it's kind of annoying. I think they should, taking account that Szczecin was part of Germany for such a long time, you would think that there would be some connection to Berlin, but there isn't. So yeah, intercity bus. Okay, yeah. So that was another very good, very eye-opening video. Because honestly, I keep forgetting that the gauges on the tracks are actually different in Russia and they're different in Europe. And so yeah, and that new Rail Baltica, when that's gonna open, that would be great. Especially that if you're gonna just be like able to go to Białystok from somewhere. I know there's an airport in Białystok, I think. So even from Warsaw and just go to Estonia or Latvia or Lithuania or Latvia. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you very much for watching. See you tomorrow. Bye.